we got married, and my wife was looking, and she was at Starbucks. She thought we were going to be broke because I was working at construction, delivering pizzas just prior to us getting married. And so she didn't think we were ever going to have any money. She literally sold her Jeep and got a bike and rode her bike to Starbucks. So,
Wow.
so we had she came home one day and was like, "Hey, I got this meeting set up with this guy." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" So she's like, "Hey, put these clothes on. We need to go meet with this guy." So we go to a Starbucks and meet with this guy that gave us like 15 minutes. And was like, "Hey, I know some very successful people, guys that are really doing great things. I'm looking for ambitious people, people that want more." And I was kind of at a point of like, what's the point of dreaming? My wife wanted to talk about our dreams, our family, our faith, our future, all the things that matter. And I just pushed her away because I was living in quiet desperation. I didn't really see how I could get those things. It seemed like a fake, fluffy cloud that I just couldn't grasp. I just couldn't quite get my hands on it. It wasn't tangible. I didn't have a vision for my life. And so when I had, you know, got around the entrepreneur mindset was in the network marketing industry. That we went to a meeting, and it's one of the longest network marketing companies been around, and for the last 18 years we've owned an Amway business, and we've built a very successful Amway business, and very different, I think, than a lot of people, than a traditional business, which we own as well. My wife ran a daycare for many years, and I had lost my job when I was, just my first daughter was born 14 years ago. And so we had no income. And so we were going through this crazy struggle. And really the Amway business was the only thing that kept us afloat. We were making like $800 back then. And we were like, man, but we got around some amazing men and women in the Amway business that really mentored us and challenged me to think about my life radically different, and put me in a position to change my whole life, really. I mean, go from what's the point of dreaming to, isn't it better to shoot for a star knowing you'll never hit it because it's impossible to get to the stars, but fail miserably your whole life and hit the moon and do something so much further and so much more uh, beyond what you could comprehend, I think, because you had the willingness to dream and go for something, or have a 100% chance of hitting a mud puddle and aiming for nothing. And I was aiming for nothing. I was the mud puddle guy going nowhere, and struggling because I was a Christian. I love the Lord, but I wasn't in a position to really see why this life really made a lot of sense and why I could live with purpose and how I could be used. And sometimes people are so heavenly bound, but they're no earthly good. And
Hmm.
and I think that at the end of the day, God has a plan for us, and the only reason why I'm here is because the Lord has a plan for my life. The Lord has a plan for my wife and our family and our kids, and we want to be used by Him. So
That's good. I mean, it sounds like you got purpose now. Um, I kind of want to dig into the fact that when you're telling all that, a couple things. That the story of your wife like setting up and like pushing you into this like meeting, right? And she's doing some work on your behalf, on where you maybe this you didn't even go this route had she not done what she did. And uh, I just give kind of respect to that a woman really helping her husband and kind of like being that support and I don't know, kind of lifeline to a better future. That is really cool. Yeah.
definitely 100% I would not be the man I am today. And the Lord knew I was such an idiot that I needed my wife at 22. He brought her in my life and helped me to steer me down that path. And Scripture talks about God being a lamp before our feet, and sometimes you can't see that far, but He does give you that next step. He lights up that next step, and so we're faithful to that. We just kept following those steps, and we had a lot of opposition. We had a lot of challenges. We had a lot of hardships, a lot of heartbreak, a lot of learning lessons along the way. But it's been fun. It's been a great journey. She just stuck through. We've been married almost 19 years now, and so that's all. This really, the life is all we've known, is working together, having a family vision for our life instead of a division. Where I think a lot of people, the couples, go the opposite directions. And they spend 40, 50 hours a week going this direction, and 40, 50 hours a week going that direction, and they don't really understand how to get on a same page, row in the same direction, and fight together. And sometimes you have metal clashing, but we're both a little stubborn. And so I think, after a while, enough friction creates fusion, and we welded ourselves together pretty good here. So
That's awesome. Well, let's dig more into, you're talking about vision, right there, and I caught that when you, right after the intro, when we were talking, is you seem like a man of vision, a man of purpose, a man that's like moving forward, going like, you know, going forward. And then you told your story where you said you're the guy, like you said something about like the mud puddle guy. You're not looking real far. It's not real clear, right? So what happened from Josh, age 22, to Josh, now, that, because it seems like you got the vision things. So what changed and how did you get to where you're at?
yeah, I spent probably 6 years. I was inspired like 18 years ago when we started our business. But growth is a process. It's not a destination. It's really the success that we have become through this process is the win, right? Like the transformation, not the transactional thing of like, oh yeah, I made so much money, or yes, we have this house, or yes, my marriage is great, but it's this process of transformation, in my leadership, transformation, everything. And I got around some very, very successful business people in the Amway business, and pastors. And there was a gentleman named Paul Sika and his son, and they had a organization called Restoration Ranch, and he was an evangelist for many years. And I was struggling for 6 years. I was hearing the Lord say, quit. And just this, small voice. And, I'm sure a lot of people that listen aren't Christians, which is fine. But I became a Christian at 19, and God really just started to move in my life and work in my life, and brought Juliana in my life through, the next door neighbor, professional golfer that mentored me. And that's how I met Juliana. Her dad was a pastor, on and on. But the vision process was probably the most life-changing, and something I teach all the time. And I'm super passionate about helping people understand, how do you develop a vision. I had a very successful person in my life say, Josh, the greatest use of your life is that you so live your life so that the use of your life outlives your life. And that quote has stuck with me, and it's a legacy, right? And how do you make a difference, and with the use of your life? And he broke down something. He goes, Josh, success is a progressive realization of a worthy goal or ideal, accompanied with a growing sense to do something about it. And I remember listening to that going, man, what's this guy talking about? Is, you know, success is a progressive realization. Is this guy on drugs? Like, like I didn't, I didn't understand what progressive, but when I got around these guys more, they just said, look, you got to turn your dream into a vision. And the more I got around them, the more it actually started to make sense. And I was sitting down with this pastor, really, really frustrated. And I felt like I was in this situation. Maybe you've been there, you've gone to different conferences and you get motivated, right? And then all of a sudden you peter out because your motivation is struggling. You don't know why. You're just kind of like up and then down, and then up and then down, and then up and then down. And I kind of thought of it as like a car that doesn't have an engine, and it's going up this hill. And I got around things that motivated me, people that motivated me, business environments that motivated me. I would go to leadership conferences and read books. But then there would become a point where I would go through all the struggle, and then I would just feel like, okay, I'm motivated. So it's kind of going downhill and everything's awesome. And then all of a sudden now I'm not motivated. And now it just feels impossible to do this. And I felt just like a wimp and pathetic, and I can't do this. And I struggled with, man, do I have what it takes to build this business and be successful, or build any business, lead my family for that matter, lead anybody? I don't feel like I can lead myself, let alone another human being. And so I was working hard, but I was going nowhere. I would go up and down, up and down. And I sat down with this pastor guy, and he says, look, Josh, it sounds to me like you don't have your VVSG figured out. And I remember thinking, what the heck's VVSG? And he goes, most people focus on strategies and goals because that's what the world teaches. What do you want to be when you grow up? Okay, now what do you got to do to get there? So create a strategy and create a goal. But they always focus on just making money or just what you do, instead of how do you want to live your life? And then reverse engineer that, figure, okay, now how much time and money does it take to get there? But to me, even hearing that wasn't enough. It was when this guy really gave me the ability to like what you talk about in the core values of your podcast, your faith, your family, your finances. I take it further, call it 7 F's: your faith, your finances, your fitness, your future, your friendships, your fun. Like, your family, like those are all the things that matter. And so imagine like if, you had a puzzle. And so behind me, there's that B in this, or let's just say that, there's not a picture, but let's just say there's a picture and it's broken up into a whole bunch of puzzle pieces. These guys go, look, you need to figure out what is your values. So the first V is values. And the values are the building blocks and the key to developing a vision, because your vision isn't just segmented. It's not just one part of your life. It's holistic. And until we can put all those pieces together into one place, there's no way to create a vision unless you can keep all those things as part of that vision. And then not only take a list of all your values. So what he had me do is he goes, look, Josh, I want you to make a list. I want you to make a list of like 20, 30, 40 things that you value in your faith, your family, your finances, your fitness, your future, your fun. And just write them out. Like I value being, debt free. I value, growth. I value, moving forward, and I value, prosperity, and being successful, and not just being broke. Like I've had a lot of my Christian friends that say, hey, Josh, money don't make you happy, and a lot of other people in the world. And it's like, yeah, but being broke don't make you happy. So money to life is like breathing is, like money to success, like breathing is to life. It's just necessary. It's not even like something we should argue about. It's like, you just need money to survive. So the question is, are you living out of the values and vision of your life? Because that's actual success. And so when you can put those core values, and so you break those down and you narrow those down into a much simpler, a handful of those values, and you could even make it as simple as, faith, finances, fitness. But I really think continue to really make that really, really, really clear in our minds, and then write out a vision statement, write out like, what are both you and your wives, and you're married. And so I always recommend husband and wives do this separately, and then come together and then get that list together and say, okay, how do we align with these values? What is our family vision going to look like based off our family values and our personal values individually? And now let's bring those together and go, okay, and how are we going to create a vision so we can lead our families together?
That's good. I like it because, when someone first told me about faith, family, finances, and fitness, I was like, oh my gosh, that's a nice, simple way to put something, to focus on. But even what I found is that there's, although those are good like categories, like there is almost this missing piece of like, well, how do you implement that? And what you're talking about, like the vision, um, and making that list, we ended up doing that as a family, and I kind of led that, and it was like that was a piece that kind of was needed, and I need to go back to that, but um, I think that is wise in being able to take other people with you, because that's what a dad's doing, really, or a father, a man, because you're taking your wife on this vision that you see, or maybe you both see it, but and you both
Yeah,
created it. But now you got to bring like these kids into it as well. And so I like that you added even future and fun, because I think there's that aspect of fatherhood that it's almost eternal, right? But it's like you got to think years down the road, and I don't think our society is geared that way, where we're thinking multi-generational, right? I just had a guest on talking about that, and really biblically, like we were talking about the promises to Abraham, he didn't see a lot of those promises in his lifetime. He saw a few, but what really came later was the descendants that were like the sand of the sea. Like that's just massive, right? And all the world was going to be blessed because of him. And yeah, he just didn't get to see it all in his lifetime. So I like that you're saying that, you're there's a future, right? And
100%.
you're and you said a quote too, or let like your life outlive your own life. That's huge. So um is there
Yeah, real
more
quick
to like, go ahead.
to add, there was a gentleman that said something, and I just want to say this because you're talking about fatherhood, and my wife and I just were very blessed to hear this, because it changed how we looked at raising our kids. And they go, Josh, you don't have children that you're raising. And that's how most people look at their kids. They're looking at them as kids, as children. And this gentleman was, very, very successful. And he goes, Josh, he goes, you are raising adults passing through childhood. They are an adult for 80+% of their life. And he goes, you have to look at them as adults passing through childhood and mentor them where they can understand you. But you have to mentor them and lead by your example, lead with the values that you have, live the life that and we attend our kids sports things and we do things with our kids, but I think so many people live for their kids and their kids are their vision instead of creating a vision for their family, and the parents are the ones that are leading the charge of saying this is where the family's headed, and it's not always fun and it's not always pleasant and it's going to suck sometimes and you're going to have to work hard and the kids are going to have to make sacrifices just like the parents are. And you know what, this isn't all about you. You're going to have to realize that this isn't all about us. This is about us serving the Lord and doing something beyond us and having a vision that goes beyond us as people and us as a family. And that changed our life too. Just having somebody just take us to a different level, and show us really what's, I think, super important when it comes to being a father, which is I think a lot of fathers don't lead by example. They talk about it and they tell their kids basically to shut up and do what they're told, but they're not actually showing them because they don't have a vision. And because they don't have a vision, how do they teach something that they don't have? And so their kids flounder and struggle.
If you like that clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. If you want to watch the entire interview, click right here.